guys, it's your boy Luke here for our value picks at the Farmers Insurance Open. These golfers priced $7,500 and below are going to be some of the targets I'm having my eyes on for GPP contests this week. Whether it's a good course fit, elite course history, the recent form that's been popping, there is a reason to believe that all 6 of these golfers should have a relatively good week at Torrey Pines. Of course, this should give us a little bit more salary flexibility to spend up for some of those stud options up top, and boy, are there a ton of them this week. So making sure that we have this solid value down low is of course going to let us fit a few more into our builds, which will be important at a field this strong. Of course, if you're looking for our core picks or our course breakdown for this week, both of those videos already up on the channel here, so make sure to go and check them out. But without further ado at all, let's hop right into it. All right, here on the screen, you guys can see our projections, and our first value pick for this week is going to be Aaron Wise at $7,500. He's coming in with great recent form. That's evident there with the number 5 ranking for this field, but also a great course fit. He's number 20 for this field. His combination of length off the tee, approach play, and putting, which is something that we've only seen of late, but has been a glaring difference in what we've seen in the past, will make him a very solid target, even in this mid 7K range for this week. It can be argued that he should be in the 8K range at this point, particularly because of his course fit here. And if we head over to the shots gained metrics, it'll become readily apparent why I love him this week. So first and foremost, the ball striking. 0.43 shots gained on approach per round. 0.26 shots gained off the tee per round. In total, good for almost 0.7 shots gained per round ball striking. That is an elite number for this field. In terms of his off the tee play, he's not only somebody who gets it out there with his distance, but he's also relatively accurate. You can see most of the people that are top 75, top 60 on tour in terms of driving distance are often well outside the top 150 in terms of accuracy. Only guys like a Bryson DeChambeau, a John Rahm, a Rory McIlroy are capable of really combining those two traits. And even though he's not one of the more accurate drivers of the golf ball, when he needs to get it in the short grass, he's more than capable of doing so. We've seen him compete at the Honda Classic before, almost ended up taking that thing down last year. And that's a golf course, you got to be damn accurate off the tee. So we've seen him do it before. He could certainly do it here at Torrey Pines. And of course, the shots gained putting metrics of late, like we already mentioned, that's really been that X factor. So if he can continue that putting that he's seen for the rest of this fall swing, on POA, hasn't been his best surface historically, but he went up to school up there at Oregon, this side of the country, West Coast, where we do really see most of the courses with POA and NUA. So I expect him to have at least some type of familiarity, particularly because the conference he was in for a lot of his competitions, they were playing in California a whole lot. And on POA and NUA courses, I know for a fact, over there at universities like USC, a lot of those other Pac-12 schools. So Aaron Wise at $7,500. Up to this point of his career, he only has 24 measured rounds on POA NUA. So I'm also willing to let it slide for that reason. And the real kicker here is that he's not coming in as mega chalk. He's only at 11% expected ownership right now. Could have very well come in closer to 15 or even 16% projected ownership, and I would have still bet on him here. He's just a great course fit, great recent form. He's figured out his bugaboo of late, has started to gain strokes on the greens, and if he continues to do so, is going to win here very soon. Next up, we're going to have Mito Pereira, $7,400. You can see the recent form in the fall swing wasn't quite as immaculate as what we saw towards the end of the 2021 season after he earned his Battleground promotion, but the course fit is right up there, right? Number 10 in the field. And for Mito Pereira, a PGA Tour rookie, that's huge, right? And this isn't a small sample size type of thing. We head over here to the shots gained metrics. You're going to see that just like in Aaron Wise, Mito Pereira is an immaculate ball striker. He's got that distance off the tee we're looking for, and even more so with the approach. He's getting over a half a stroke per round. We've seen him do that at a variety of golf courses, whether it's courses that are nearly 7,700 yards or even 7,800 yards like we're going to see this week at Torrey Pines, or courses like the RSM Classic that are hardly a sniff over 7,000 yards. He's gotten it done at both venues. He can do it with the short irons. He can do it with those long irons as well. And over here with the shots gained putting numbers, he hasn't done anything drastic, but even putting to just a neutral rate, he's gone out there and contended week in and week out. Much like a Justin Thomas, it's these type of profiles when they go out and they gain strokes on the field on the greens, they win golf tournaments. So we take a look at some of the advanced metrics besides just the normal shots gained categories. In terms of his driving distance, he's number 18 in the world. His driving accuracy, sorry, I was reading that wrong. He's greens in regulation. He's number 18 in the world. This driving distance metric right here, this 110, is just not accurate. Driving distance on the PGA Tour, if you guys aren't aware, is taken from a relatively small sample size. It's usually one hole per round. If you guys have seen Mito Pereira hit the golf ball, he gets it out there like 320, 330 yards. So I'm not worried about that driving distance metric right there. Again, that could have been very easily swayed by that small sample size. The green regulation number, though, at number 18 in the world, that's exactly what we're looking for, right? This guy is absolutely spot on with his iron play. You can see from the 175 to 200 yard bucket, he's number 59 in the world, number 58 from approaches over 200 yards. Most of your approaches this week will be in this range, so that is great to see there. The putting inside 5 feet, the closer he is to the hole, really the better Mito Pereira is. And with some of these small greens, particularly on the south course, also going to, for the most part, be in those ranges. So the fact that we have somebody who's long off the tee, again, he's been at least a neutral putter of late. If he can continue that, we'll have a relatively high floor here. He's been good off the tee, has the distance, the approach play's always been there. Going to be somebody that I'm investing in heavily. All right, next up on the docket, we are going to have Cam Davis and Ozzy at $7,300. For whatever reason, these Australians, they're very used to this Kikuyu grass. A lot of the grasses over there in Australia, similar. You have to use your bounce to get through it, particularly in some of these around the green shots. So it's not a surprise to find him in my player pool. He's also somebody who's a relatively long player. He's great with some of those long irons. He won last year up there in Detroit for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. So he's a proven winner and somebody that I think has a ton of upside here in the low 7K range. If we head over here to the shots gained metrics for a Cam Davis, it's very apparent why we're targeting him, right? Off the tee numbers, he's been great of late. He puts himself in a ton of scoring opportunities. It tends to do it with accuracy at times as well. With some of those longer clubs, he's actually one of the more accurate players on tour. So even though the approach numbers don't look all that great, right around neutral over these last 24 measured rounds, if we head out and look to some of these longer ranges, it's really where he starts to differentiate himself. So first and foremost, number 61 in the world from 175 to 200. Number 63 from approaches over 200 yards. That is well above average for people in this field. And in terms of his driving distance, number 25 of anyone around the world. He's somebody who has that long game down tight. And we have seen of late that first off, he's been a decent putter. He's been better for his career on Poa Anua, so perhaps we're going to see a little bit of regression there. But if he can gain with his approach play, again, almost every iron shot is going to be in his preferred distance ranges from 175 to 200 and 200 yards plus. He's going to be in a very solid position. Should gain probably 2 to 3 strokes off the tee. If he can gain another 2 to 3 on approach, keep it together with his putting, you're looking at the very least him making a cut, potentially going and putting himself into contention. So a lot of the other guys in the $7,300 range don't have nearly the type of upside that he does. And the kicker for a Cam Davis is that he is a prolific fantasy scorer. He's somebody who's extremely aggressive, has made the most eagles of anybody on tour. And even in this infant of a season that started over there in the fall, he has 7 eagles. Somebody who, again, if you're catching 2 or 3 of those over a golf tournament, could very well crack the optimal lineup despite only finishing at, let's say, 15th to 20th place. So I like him there at $7,300, only coming in with 3.6% projected ownership. It's not like he's going to be chalky either. Somebody at that same price tag that I'll be going to this week, going to be Carlos Ortiz, who doesn't really get the respect he deserves for being a long player off the tee. If we take a look at some of his driving stats, they can be relatively surprising. So let's go ahead and do so here. So first and foremost for Carlos Ortiz, over the last 24 measured rounds, pretty much gaining across the board except around the green. And that's something that we'll see from Carlos Ortiz. He's not necessarily the best chipper of the golf ball, but for his career at some of these Western golf courses over here in California, he's done his best work. gaining over half a stroke per round putting on Poa Anua. Around the green, he also gains over a quarter of a stroke per round on Poa Anua. That is despite being a loser for his career on every other surface. Some of the other advanced metrics that really paint a good picture for him, you see the driving distance here at number 38 in the world. Not something you would expect from a Carlos Ortiz, right? He gets the knack for being a shorter hitter at times, and that just quite frankly isn't true. So I like going to him there. He gets the ball out there 315, 320 yards relatively regularly. Moving on to some of the approach statistics, you can see from approaches from 125 to 150, not going to be a huge factor this week, but is top 40 in the world. But more importantly, number 43 from approaches over 200 yards. So he has that long iron game down. Maybe not quite as consistent as somebody like a Cam Davis, who's top 60 across both categories, but still respectable there at number 77. So for Cam Davis, Carlos Ortiz, very similar plays this week. Obviously, Cam Davis, a little bit better with those long irons, has a higher eagle rate, higher fantasy scoring rate than somebody like Carlos Ortiz. But given Carlos Ortiz's skill set, you might argue that he has higher upside. He could really go out here and win this golf tournament. Cam Davis, I don't really see him winning this thing. I could see him cracking the top 5 though. Ortiz, if he has that off the tee game down, he's hitting a lot of fairways, is live to win this thing. So I do love him as a value play this week. Also at relatively low ownership at just 3.4%. Now moving on to our next value play, that is going to be Alex Smalley, and this is a first here on the channel. This is the first time that we're talking about Alex Smalley. Not a ton of data out there for Smalley. Haven't really seen him in the professional circuit all too often, but anytime I've seen this guy swing the club, the announcers just go crazy when they see his swing because it's almost like food porn, but for a golf swing. I mean, you see the guy swing and it looks world class. There's no way to explain it. It looks like Rory McIlroy when he swings. There's just no way to really describe the beauty that you're seeing, but that is the case with Alex Smalley. His ball striking is that good. And if we take a look at some of the advanced metrics, at least for what we have over the last 24 measured rounds, also extremely impressive, gaining across all 4 major statistical categories. And for a new player onto the tour, somebody that is a rookie here, that is new. That's not something that we really ever see. Somebody that's coming on the tour and seemingly has no weaknesses, whether he's gaining around the green, off the tee, on approach, he is getting everything done. And even though we don't have any measured rounds for him on Poa Anua, also played quite a few of his college rounds of golf over here on the West Coast. So you would assume he at least has some type of familiarity as opposed to some of the guys that played over on the East Coast, the North, South, that kind of thing. When you're in that Western part of the country, you're going to have at least a little bit of experience on these greens. So somebody who's coming in extremely well-rounded. First off, also like the driving distance. He's number 95 for the metrics that we have here. But last week at the Amex, uncorked a 353-yard drive. So he definitely has a lot more in the tank than that number 95 number that we see right there. A few of the other advanced metrics we can look into. The approaches over 200 yards. Yet again, guys, another guy that is well above average. Number 65 for the field. The scrambling has been good. The sand saves have been decent. The putting from 15 to 20 feet has been elite. I mean, just tons of places all across the board where Alex Smalley is popping right now. And when we see a guy that is this well-rounded, I want to get early and often access to his props. His DFS players in the outright market, you name it. Just a very solid play. Somebody I'll have at $7,100 and at just 6.2% expected ownership. And now finally, our last value pick for this week, going to be Joseph Bramlett at $6,700. He's somebody who had a great week last week at the Amex. He started off hot, shot 7 under at the Stadium course, which was by far the hardest venue of that week, and really kept it rolling. It wasn't until Sunday where the train really fell off the rails, but he is somebody who has the distance we're looking for here at Torrey Pines. He's had the approach play over the last 24 measured rounds, and on Poa Anua, it's by far his best surface. So even though he does lose strokes for his career, just like a Luke List, typically a whole lot worse than that. So let's go ahead and look at some of these shots gained metrics for you guys. Down here at $6,700, you can see immaculate ball striker rate, 0.35 shots gained off the tee, nearly a quarter of a stroke gained on approach. Really, the only issue is the short game. You see that from some of the guys like a Luke List, a Joseph Bramlett. They're going to be losing strokes on the greens in bunches. The fortunate part for Bramlett is we did have Poa Anua greens last week, and he gained strokes on them. So if he's going to go continue that type of momentum, continue to be a long player, gain with his approaches. If we take a look at some of these advanced metrics as well, just a lot really going for him. Number 16 in the world in driving distance. In terms of the approaches from over 200 yards, you can see he's number 22 in the world. Again, over 50% of your approaches this week will be from that type of bucket right there, which is going to be absolute money. The kicker here is that even though he had a solid week last week, still coming in low owned. I mean, if he was coming in with 7 to 8% ownership, probably wouldn't be somebody I'm prioritizing, but coming in at less than 4% will be a key staple of my lineups. That's all I've got for the value picks. Hopefully now you guys are armed with a little bit of value you can use to fit in a few more studs into your lineups here at the Farmers. But go ahead and let me know down in the comments before you get out of here who your favorite value play for this slate's going to be. Whether it's somebody on my list or somebody completely off my radar, I would love to hear from you guys down below. So make sure you guys go ahead and let me know who you've got. And of course, going to have even more golf content dropping. So make sure you guys stay tuned for all that. We'll have fades and sleepers dropping here shortly. And of course, tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time, our weekly DFS live stream. That will be here on the YouTube channel covering the weather, our player pool, our modeling, any questions that you guys have down in the chat while we're live. It'll be your time. We'll go over whatever you guys want to cover for the event. Any lineups, any players you want to go through in detail, get you guys completely prepared for this slate. So I'll put a link down below so you guys can set a reminder for that. Again, that will be tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Hope to see you guys there. Until then, good luck and peace out.